What's going on, everybody? C4 here. Welcome back to the channel. Got the Arsenal red back there as a very sad and depressed Arsenal fan here today. Hope you're having a better weekend than I am. Today, on Saturday, we're going to be having two videos drop up in your sub boxes. This first video is a video I didn't plan on making it, but I've seen this question come up so much in the comments of my videos for Madden 22 so far. I think it's just worth a quick little show and tell of what is going on, and that is with the sim stats in Madden franchise mode. Sim stats have not always been great, especially for like scrambling quarterbacks, slot wide receiver cheese, and there's other little things that haven't been great. So while we're still in this early access period of Madden 22, and there's so much stuff, people are gonna be talking about the new staff trees, staff points, scouting's coming, all these different things. No one's really talking about or showing off if the sim stats are where they need to be, because that is a tipping point for a lot of people out there that really want that immersion in their franchise mode, and the sim stats aren't where they need to be. You probably want to know that before you make your informed decision about whether or not you want to play Madden 22. So that's what we're going to do here today. I'll have a second video dropping later on, which will, you'll see it in just a little bit. Tomorrow will be a rebuild. I'm not going to say what team we're rebuilding, but there will be a rebuild out tomorrow. And then on Monday, we are going to have the Pink Slips first episode. Is going to be a fantasy draft. I have also seen in the comments people want me to stream that fantasy draft. I would. I think that'd be a great idea. Unfortunately, the fantasy draft has to happen on my Xbox because that's where I'm primarily playing this year. And I don't have enough time on my trial to do a proper live stream draft where we can kind of take our time, poll the audience as to what players we should draft. I just don't have that much time. I think I have less than 2 hours, I think, on my EA trial left. So that is why I'll be just recording that by myself. And, let's be honest, with the parameters, 65 overall and less, we're probably going to be picking the same players. I'm going to be on the same page as you guys that are watching it. But either way, without further ado, let's take a look here at the sim stats in Madden 22 franchise mode. So I will say right now, my first two rebuilds that have gone up on the channel, they were on the previous beta build. That's what we had access for the early capture. And I was already seeing people saying like, wow, running back numbers are absolutely off the charts. We've seen running backs win MVPs left, right, and center, which is, that's definitely not more realistic to today's NFL. If you played the older Maddens, Madden 05, Madden 06, more often than not, running backs were winning the MVP. But that's just a different era of the game, like with LTs, and you have like Amon Green, they'd always put up big numbers. But seeing McCaffrey, seeing the Alvin Kamara so far, consistently win the MVP has been a shocking adjustment for some. So that'll be something we keep an eye on here. But this is a different build than what I did and was using for my first couple early captures. So we'll see the changes here. We'll do a couple years. I'm thinking maybe do 3 years, try to get a quick sample size here of the numbers. We'll look also at the yearly awards. So looking at the quarterbacks here, passing yards, obviously top tier quarterbacks. Wow, my Trevor Lawrence didn't play like that in the sim of our Jags rebuild. We got 48 touchdowns from home, so nothing too outrageous. I think those numbers are pretty much in line with what we've expected. From a rushing standpoint, definitely dumbed down a little bit from the beta. 1,500 yards, 13 touchdowns. We got 21 touchdowns for James Conner. So definitely you can see an uptick in rushing touchdowns, I think, from Madden 21. Pretty much across the board, but that's not a bad thing by any means. From a receiving standpoint, I've also noticed slot wide receiver cheese, not as prevalent. I mean, just from our first two rebuilds that we've done on the channel, your wide receiver one, your actual wide receiver one usually has the most receptions, usually has the most yards, and more often than not has the most touchdowns. So, I mean, Demarcus Robinson, yeah, there's always going to be some out years here, just a little bit breakout players, but you're seeing, it's not like you're getting a bunch of guys that are absolutely, like, it would be, before you take the top 20 guys, most of them are going to be your starting slot wide receivers. Here, what do we got for slots? Dede in the slot, Dorsett in the slot, Mitchie James, Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley, like, good slot wide receivers get big time numbers as well. But for the most part, you're not like, it almost felt like for Madden 21, especially right, like just this front little grouping, you might have 1 or 2 or 3 superstars that are legit near the top of the leaderboard, usually in real life, but there'd always be like just outrageous numbers from guys that have no rhyme or reason being that high. So I definitely think from a slot wide receiver sim standpoint, good slot wide receivers or slot wide receivers and good offenses still perform, but it's not just that automatic slot wide receivers are going to have outrageous numbers, because that's where the sim kind of dictates where the ball goes. On the defensive side of the ball, tackles look good. Sacks are pretty much in line. Plus, you got to remember, 17-game season. So, like, there's a different level of balancing, I guess, that would have had to go into sim stats this year. And, you know, I was firmly expecting, and I have seen some pretty big time sack numbers, but again, you're not seeing 24, 25, hopefully at least not consistently. You know, I think every now and again, when you have a guy that gets into that 20s, sure, like Aaron Donald, I love seeing Brandon Graham there. Obviously, Myles Garrett's always been dominant in Madden Sim. But so far, year one, I think those sack numbers look pretty good. Interception numbers as well look pretty solid. A lot of middle linebackers absolutely feasting here in the middle of the field, but interceptions look good. For the yearly awards, we're going to have running backs. We're going to go back to QB. It goes to Patrick Mahomes. We have McCaffrey making that list, which I'm very excited for. Spoilers. Carolina is my rebuild team, and it seems like most people are absolutely vibing with that. The only people that are a little upset are the Eagles fans, but I'll tell you what. If Philly sucks again this year, that means their roster is just going to be even worse than where it was at the starting of Madden 22. Philly sucks. Eagles will be my team 100% in Madden 23. For the rest of these awards, I mean, I don't really think there's anything in these awards that kind of dictate whether or not, you know, there was an issue. Has there been an issue with these before? Not really. I did see a suggestion, though, in one of my videos saying there should be a best tight end award. So, therefore, you know, you have an opportunity for your tight ends to go up dev traits. I also have yet to see really a dev trait scenario for your offensive linemen. I know that has been an issue for me, in particular, and a lot of people that dev traits for linemen don't really adjust. I'm not saying it's a definitive. I have not played, you know, the amount of hours to say for 100% fact there are no way for linemen to go up dev trait. I just haven't seen it personally yet. But I will say if there's a video that I am recording and I do notice an offensive lineman dev trait, I will be very much sure to highlight that. So for rushing stats for quarterbacks, that's another thing people want to see. I think it's hit or miss. And I think ultimately, it's ultimately what sim stats come down to. It comes down to your playbook. Like 300 yards, 2 touchdowns for Jalen Hurts. It's a lot better than where it was. You know, because before in older Maddens, Jalen Hurts, because he is a scrambling quarterback, would have like 90 yards and no touchdowns. But I do think there's obviously some tuning that needs to go into things. But, you know, for every Jalen Hurts that looks a little underwhelming, or like Cam Newton here, does not look particularly good, they have got some people right. Lamar Jackson going for 700 yards and 8 touchdowns. That's exactly what you want to see. I saw Russell Wilson, almost 400 yards, 7 rushing touchdowns. So the quarterbacks that actually scramble, what do we got? 370, almost 400 yards for Deshaun Watson. That's not too bad. I don't know. I'm trying to think of other quarterbacks that scramble a lot. Josh Allen, what do we got here? We got for Justin Fields, yeah, a little underwhelming for sure. Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, yeah, you know, 304. Still not where you probably want it to be, but it could be a lot worse. So again, it comes down to the playbooks. I will say ultimately, QB rushing stats are acceptable, but still not really where they need to be. What we got for Kyler? 5. Yeah. So it's, again, quarterbacks that are absolutely proven scrambling quarterbacks, like Kyler Murray, like Russell Wilson, like Lamar Jackson. They have appropriate stats. Ones that don't, you know, probably could be a little bit better. Dak 2 and 3 is what it is. But let's do another full year, see if these sim numbers are somewhat consistent. Okay, year 2 sim stats. Maybe we only need to do 2 years. I don't need to, you know, like I said, I think you get 2 years, you get the idea of where the trends are going here. But something I did notice, a little bit uptick in Jalen Hurts, so it kind of goes to the offense 300 yards, but 6 touchdowns. And I think when you combine the two, you know, that's a little bit more indicative of a true rushing quarterback. While we're on the discussion of scrambling quarterbacks, still solid year for Kyler Murray, 5 and 5. Josh Allen's still a little bit low, but I think this might come down to the fact that both the running backs ahead of him are absolutely eating. So there's only so, like from a sim standpoint, probably only so much room for Josh Allen to get scrambling points. Points is rushing yards and touchdowns. I think it would like from a fantasy standpoint, from yards and a touchdown perspective. Justin Fields still a little low. What do we got for the Niners? Is Trey Lance scrambling? Probably not. Not really. But I will say Lamar Jackson had a terrifying season. Like, Lamar Jackson is where he needed to be. Almost had 1,000 rushing yards. What do you have for passing? 36. Okay, Lamar Jackson absolutely unstoppable this year. For the rest of the stats, looking at the big picture of the NFL. So he's still on Mahomes almost going for 6,000 passing yards. Again, you have an extra game. You're going to see some stats like that. What? I rebuilt the Jags way too early. Trevor Lawrence was not playing like this. What? I'll just leave that in there. Do it. Use with that what you want. What's his rating? Okay. Well, hey. People like Colin Kaepernick. Whoa, okay. 2,200 yards from Zeke. 30 touchdowns. James Robinson, if you watch the Jags rebuild, you already know. I'm glad I did another. Okay, we're going to have to do 3 years. Because we got to see these outliers if they're remaining consistent. Again, seeing top wide receivers for the most part near the top of the leaderboard there, which is good, which is what you want to see. Most 1,000-yard receivers are guys that are classified as wide receiver ones or tight end ones. Not just, you know, like how many guys are legit not wide receiver ones that should be putting up 1,000 yards? Probably Preston Williams. I mean, I don't know any of the rookies. Traquan Smith, get him out of there. Hollywood Higgins. I mean, I like him. Could have a breakout, but probably not. He's on the Bucs. He's probably the third wide out there. Josh Reynolds. Maybe give him the benefit of the doubt. Deontay Harris, absolutely. Slot wide receiver. But it's the Chiefs. I mean, Demarcus Robinson. Sim God already. Just from initial... This video. Get Demarcus Robinson. He's going to be a top name in free agency for you. Matt Milano, a lot of tackles. Sacks are very much off the charts here. But that's not... Again, extra game... There's going to be people now. With these extra games, they're going to put up big numbers. Maybe not Zeke Elliott numbers in that sim, but they're going to put up some big numbers. Interceptions are what they are. That's very sad to see as an Eagle fan. Let's go one more year. Let's see what we got. And at least for those people that are saying, like, the MVP award, this is still year 2. It's kind of copy-paste. It's always a quarterback. It's so hard to win it when you're not a quarterback. Well, Zeke dominated, and Zeke got the MVP. So for the final example of our sample size here, let's take a look. Philly actually moved on from Jalen Hurts, and wow, the rookie. 5,000 yards. That's impressive. I mean, Hurts still on the roster, but we moved on from him. Running stats for quarterbacks. 7-10. Lamar still looks good. Seahawks. Russell Wilson. I mean, he's getting old now at this point. Probably not going to be scrambling a whole lot. Again, that's just still not where we want for Justin Fields. Just even more that it comes down to the playbook. Please understand that. Josh Allen. Probably that's most yards he's had so far. Kyler Murray. 6-10. So, yeah. If you're expecting good scrambling numbers from good scrambling quarterbacks, less Josh Allen, you're getting it here in this game. Let's look at the overall stats, then we'll look at the individual awards just real quickly. So yeah, pass yards on point. Sam Darnold having a great year is another great positive for me, as the Carolina Panthers will be my main channel franchise coming up. Rushing yards, so Zeke went off again, but not nearly as freaky as last year, which lets you know that there's going to be outliers, which is cool. Right? At any given year, someone could just have simply outstanding numbers, which is kind of like the NFL, right? That you never know who's going to absolutely dominate. You have an idea, but you don't always know. We have Hopkins near the top here. Definitely seems like who's ever the slot wide receiver in Tampa Bay is absolutely eating. But look at that. McCaffrey's actually that's another thing I wasn't even thinking about. Running backs catching the ball. Now, for all we know, McCaffrey was in the slot on the depth chart. But let's look at this. Even though it's year 3, we'll look at the defense here real quick. Running backs that are known to catch the football, do they actually catch the football? Because that was also an issue. Like that, those are the two things that, like me personally, were my pet peeves: scrambling numbers for scrambling quarterbacks and receptions for running backs that are clearly proven catchers at the backfield. Like, oh, that's outrageous for David Montgomery. 700 yards, 10 touchdowns. He's not even like a proven guy. Like, who are we thinking about? What are running backs that just, let's see. Denver, no. I mean, there could be free agents that are moving on here. But, okay, Austin Eckler. What do we got for Austin Eckler here? Okay, that's a little low for someone like, someone of his skill set. I think you could probably look at, does Saquon catch a lot? Not really. Not really known for it. That's not a bad year. 500 yards, 6 touchdowns for Saquon Barkley. Let's see. I wish I just knew off the top of my head, like, really. Also, obviously, Christian McCaffrey. I would like to think that that's just the actual numbers, but that's insane. 2,600 yards from scrimmage, 18 touchdowns. I cannot wait for that series to start. Where's James White? Right? You should have outrageous numbers. What we could just do. Let's look at the overall. Like, I wish this is definitely not very professional, but we have McCaffrey there. Let's see what other running backs absolutely feasted. If I can just find some here. Kenneth Gainwell for the Eagles. Again, hey, that's actually really, really good because Kenny Gainwell, very small sample size at Memphis, but that's what he had at Memphis. He caught 50 balls in his 1 full year as a starter. We got Ahmad Atkins, had a pretty big year there for Atlanta. So, I mean, from that standpoint, again, you need to, like, there's no way all these guys are listed as their team slot wide receivers, so you are seeing an uptick in reception numbers for running backs out the backfield, which has been another big-time demand from the franchise community. So, while it's not perfect, while there absolutely could still be some tweaking, and while I think it's fair from a user to not complain about everything standpoint, things are tied down to the playbooks. So it's, you know, it's not necessarily like the game can recognize a person's specific skill set just yet. We know how everything works here in Madden, but I also think it's fair that, like, hey, for those playbooks, like especially for, you know, the Bears and Justin Fields, can we modify that playbook a little bit and how that playbook reacts in the sim to get Justin Fields more scrambling numbers at launch? I think things like that should be explored, but generally, if I had to give you guys my personal review, sim stats are a lot better than what they were in Madden 21, and I'm gonna get roasted for this, but like, they're going in the right direction. They're taking, like, this is something that's kind of small. This is something that big picture, all the issues with franchise mode, sim stats, getting those right seems so simple, seems like it shouldn't be an issue, but it has been an issue. But it also is, big picture, kind of a smaller issue. And they have gone about it, and they've adjusted it, at least, you know, for a lot of the scrambling quarterbacks. Not all, but a lot. And running backs catching the ball in the backfield like they should do, like the good ones, minus like Austin Eckler and just obscure cases like that. So I definitely think sim stats are in a better spot. But again, I just showed you guys what it is. You can have your own opinions on the matter and make your decision about how you feel about it for Madden 22. Hope you guys learned something from this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. It's free, but it very much helps out my YouTube channel. Subscribe if it's your first time stopping by. We'll be back with another video later on tonight. I think you guys are really going to like it. It's a different twist, per se, on my OP position switches video that we do every single year. Yeah, it's, you know, I'm not going to say it's copy and paste ideas for a new Madden game, but I'm going to take a different approach on this, and I always do these videos that are the same video every year. I try to do it with your guys' interest in mind so that I'm doing the legwork for you. Yeah, it's the same thing that we saw last year, but what new players could be a benefit for me? Or when I do like the trade videos, what players are realistic targets that I can go out and get, not me just saying, highlighting like, hey, when I did the rookies video, go get Micah Parsons, guys. He's super overpowered, and I'm sure it's not going to cost you 8 first-round picks, which you can't even do, to try to acquire him. I try to make stuff that is applicable, and I hope you guys do appreciate it. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching, and peace out.